concrete rituals that relate to what myths have to do with living life just daily in a mundane sense.
Everyday life.
Yeah. So he starts out with this, he gives this first little ritual called the giving of the first fruits. The mother inevitably has to give up the son when the son rises to maturity. So to prepare her consciousness for that, she gives to her priest, the local village Brahman, little trinkets, things that she is attached to. Eventually she has to give up bits and pieces of jewelry that is sacred to her as the son grows older, until finally there's a big ceremony where she has to fast and offer coconut milk to the Brahman and a number of representatives of the society who all symbolize the society to which she is giving away the son. So he starts with that concrete thing. Then he mentions the myth of Savitri, who is the goddess who knew that her husband was going to die. And as a result of that, it's a kind of male inversion of Pluto's kidnapping of Persephone. They're out in the woods, and King Death comes and steals her husband away. And she prays to King Death to resurrect him. And he does indeed do so. And this turns out, Zimmer says, to be the myth behind the fact that very often in India, the children will be betrothed to their mate from very early on. And marriages have already been arranged. And traditionally, it is the case that if the male dies, that's it for the woman. She is never to marry, ever. And the myth of Savitri is the little ritual that she performs to make her consciousness go along with that. And what she does is these devotional bhakti ceremonies to the memory of the departed, and she is in a sense restoring his immortality. Because the myth is that the two beings are a manifestation of one. The one, Shiva and Shakti, were fundamentally the one who become two, as in the myth of the self that splits into the male and female, and from out of their sexual congress create everything. So the wife and the husband, metaphysically, are regarded as one. So if one of them dies, the two are linked metaphysically. So, and then Zimmer shows you that myths are what enable us to live and bear life. And if we believe in the myth, we'll do it. It doesn't make any difference what is required of you. If the myth is there, you'll perform the myth. Myths are models and guides for the living of life. It's a little bit like Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, except that's only existing on the intellectual level. He's in the concentration camps, and he has this revelation. I don't know if anybody's read it. He has this revelation that man will bear anything if he has a reason. And so the concentration camps became bearable to him because he realized what the reason was for him to come to the insight that no matter what they took away from him, including his wife, they could not take away his freedom of thought. That's the one thing they could never take from him. And that was his revelation in the concentration camps. And so myths do not address meaning so much as they address the body and transform behavior with these paradigms that sink into the mind. And Zimmer's point is that the myths touch irrational centers, which just spontaneously come up, and you're overtaken. And so the myths
get through it.
What's that?
It helps you get through it.
Myths will help you get through anything. They will help you bear and interpret anything that happens to you. That's Zimmer's whole approach. And that's what that pragmatic aspect appealed to Campbell from Zimmer.
So like maybe a Christian thing, or no matter what happens, no matter how bizarre, it's got to go.
That's right. So that's just the Hindu cosmology very briefly. I want to move on to the next chakras. There's a mini chakra right here, which is called the wish-fulfilling tree. It's a little tree growing up out of a kind of chest. The lower chakras, the lower three chakras, are all chakras that drive us. They have to do with kama, desire, and fear, mara. And desire and fear are what drive us to pursue and fulfill our wishes in life. But if we can get to this point where we begin to let go of desire and fear, that we have to have everything, or let go of our conceptions of what we thought we had to have, we begin to move up into the higher spiritual centers. The spiritual awakening, which begins at the fourth chakra, which is at the level of the lungs, and correspondingly you have the gazelle that is associated with the wind god Vayu. So the element now is air, and this is at the lungs. The gods now that begin to reappear are manifestations of Shiva, and another Shakti in different manifestations until you get to the skies. And notice here that we have the meeting of the upward pointing triangle with the downward pointing triangle. This was our symbol for the Philosopher's Stone last time, which was born out of the unification of opposites. And we have the phallus from the first chakra, the phallus and the female, but they're the lingam and yoni, as they're called for the sacred genitals. They're now in gold, though. So we have had a virgin birth. This is what the virgin birth symbolizes. It is not a biological problem. It is the awakening of a spiritual consciousness. So it is at this level now, and this level is called anahata, which means not hit. So we are hearing the sound that is not made by any two things striking together. And this is the sound of the spiritual dimension, and the mantra that is associated with that sound is Om. You know, the famous Om. And the sound that is not made by any two things striking together. And Om is that sound. Om can be written, let's see this. Om can be written either this way or spelled out this way, A-U-M. And as you sound it, Om, all the vowels are pronounced together. And consonants are regarded as interruptions of the vowels, just as all the forms of the world are interruptions of the one Brahman, the manifestation of the one substance that everything is, and of which we are consubstantial with. And Om is generally spelled out in the Mandukya Upanishad as encapsulating three states of consciousness, or the three, actually four, but the primary three are waking consciousness, which is the mode that we're in right now, and it's the mode generally associated with the first chakra, and Brahma is the god associated with waking consciousness out into the four directions. And the matter of the physical world of waking consciousness is called stula. It is gross physical matter. And this form changes very slowly. It does so in accordance with the principle of causality. This is the realm of the natural sciences, the materialistic dimension, and waking consciousness refers to the past in terms of its temporal dimension. Experiences are always coming to us, and we're getting the point of it already after the experience has already happened. So we're always late in our interpretations. This is even true in Einstein's relativity. Then we have dreaming consciousness, which is the second level. And this is the level of Vishnu, whose dream is the world. And this is the level that we sink into every night when we go to sleep. And the forms of dreaming consciousness are sukshma. And sukshma is subtle matter. Stula, the forms of the physical world, is illuminated externally by artificial light, by the sun. Sukshma is self-luminous, just as the visions of your dreams are self-luminous with their own radiant energies at night while we sleep. And the energies of mythology are sukshma, subtle matter. Anything that has a metaphysical, numinous reference is sukshma, the subtle form, the inward, intuitive dimension of things. And then we have dreamless sleep. The dream cycle has ended, and you've gone down. And by the way, dreaming refers to the present in terms of the time factor. Dreams are always referring to potentialities that are present within you in your life right now. Dreamless sleep, however, is the abyss into which all forms go at death and into which we sink at night when we sleep. This is associated with the future. It's also called the causal zone, not to be confused with causality. It's probably not a good idea to put that there. But causal in the sense that everything that comes into being in the world comes out of dreamless sleep in the human consciousness, and in the external world comes out of when Vishnu stops dreaming, the world goes down the drain, and you get these apocalyptic images. He goes back into sleep, and that's the domain of Shiva, who's associated with the dot.